I come from the labor movement, and a lot of people in this room are in a union. And I agree with the sister up in the back about how much the right wing has fought unions. Coming from the labor movement, I've known about Dolores Huerta for a long time. It's hard, I think, in our culture, in this country, we don't study labor.
No.
So it's not that you haven't, it's not only Dolores that you haven't heard about. Just let me put that out there, right? Because, you know, Cesar Chavez, I think this was actually a really great representation of their relationship, because it was not one of Cesar pushing down on Dolores. They were a partnership, and he had a commitment to poverty just as she did, right? His last fast, I believe, he really went full tilt saying why he was doing it. It was a personal commitment that he had to try and get back to that humility, I believe is what he talked about. But I do want to say this, unions make a big difference in how people relate to each other, and that, I think, in many ways, is what scares the right wing the most. It is a place where people come together around economic issues and try, not always successfully, but try to put their differences aside to build the power that they need to get what they want. And so, you know, unions were dangerous to the right wing because of that. Yeah, we still are. You know, have we used that power all the time in the best way? Absolutely not. You know, I think probably, this is my own opinion. I'm retired now. I'm allowed to give my own opinion. I'm no longer bringing you greetings from the AFLCIO. I think we could have done a better job in 2016 talking about women, talking about misogyny with our members. I think we did a very good job around Barack Obama talking about race with our members. We challenged our leaders to step forward and say they were going to support Barack Obama and people we're going to do this together, is what they said to members. Did that work in every union? Probably not. But I don't think we had similar conversations around women when Hillary Clinton was the nominee.
I think there's a big issue with us unions working together as well. I think we need to organize as unions, plural, as well. As we saw from that movie, look what the Teamsters did to their brothers and sisters, in essence.
Yeah.
But man, you know, it's shameful. My dad was a Teamster, and that's how I got involved. That's why I wanted to become a union member. I respected unions. They helped bring up the standard of living. They were doing these things, fighting for the workers' rights. But here I see a movie where they were actually bashing these people and preventing them from having their rights and exercising their rights and their voices. And it's kind of shameful, and we still need to be aware of that and cognitive of that as we grow. And somehow we need to organize our unions to all be on the same page and all working together too.
Not coach off each other.
Yeah, rating as they call it.
What struck me about that movie especially is the level of sacrifice that Dolores put in, and all the other people that she was working with, all those people who potentially gave up their pay and their jobs, their picket, and all that stuff. It's a huge sacrifice. But, you know, I think people are hungry for sacrifice and for doing things that are for, like Remulia, for this higher purpose that she dedicated her life to. And, you know, when I get an email and click like on a petition, yeah, I'll sign a petition. I mean, that is not a sacrifice. That takes like a tenth of a second.
That's such a needle, though. We need that.
And I think people want to do more. You know,
Yeah.
we see things like in West Virginia, we see, you know, these kids out here at Concord High School, and every high school in the country. Like, you know, that's what people want to do, you know, because what's the point? Like, oh, wow, I got, you know, another 1%, which is great. I'd like another 1%. But, I mean, I think people want to get something that's bigger than that.
So what does that mean for the SEA right now without a contract for how many days?
Yeah, what are
I
we
don't
at?
know. I really don't know.
We're not at 300 yet, are
Well,
we?
it's 250 something,
250?
257?
Yeah, 250.
257 days?
I don't know.
We're
Is it
waiting for the
257?
fact finder, right? That's what we're doing. We're
That's what
waiting.
we're doing.
Is that where your power comes from?
We are
Waiting.
waiting on the legal process.
Yeah.
Seems that the West Virginians didn't.
They didn't have one. See, that's the thing.
Exactly.
They didn't have one, and so they figured out where their power was, right?
Right,
And their power turned out to be, you know, to do
just them.
just them
just
going
them.
out on strike and then pushing the legislature.
Which is the
Well-
same as what the Market Basket did a few years ago.
Yes.
Remember when the Market Basket, they had all the signs out there, all the 16, 17, 18-year-old workers, go shop at Hannaford, pointing signs pointing. That's what they did. They
Oh,
organized.
yeah.
And
And
they
their
would
customers dived right in and
Absolutely.
joined them. We all, I think you're absolutely right. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And church ain't it anymore for most of us. So we need to find something that calls on our spirit to be greater than just the individual and our, what we're gonna eat tomorrow and what we're gonna watch tonight.
Yeah, well, what we need is to get our union presidents all together so that they can sit down and have a discussion about how we can reduce the silos and combine our efforts all for the same cause. Because we all have the same issues. We've got low pay. We've got people that are stuck and not being able to move up. We've got racism. We've got all kinds of issues that if we just banded ourselves together, we could be much more than these politicians, and we can get them to shut up and listen to us for once.
I got stories.
So I'm a high school teacher, and I think one of the lessons that I've learned from Parkland and from afterwards is just that education, is something that's always under siege, and it's because it's part of empowerment, right? That the kids from Parkland had a really good education and were able to control their own narrative to a larger extent than other things because of social media. Right? They kept the story their own. As opposed to things that are reported by outside adults, where the narrative can, be slanted by whatever the outlet is that's delivering it. So I do think I can see that, social media certainly has its limits, but it also has its power in controlling the narrative and how people talk about things. So today we had the walkout at my school and schools all over the place. And the kids who wanted to organize it at my school, went and met with the administration and worked out a deal. They were very smart about it. So they gave them, the 17 minutes they were asking for, and it had a specific focus on honoring the students who died. And there's more to come, but I feel like kids who weren't the leaders of that movement went to that, and felt like they were part of something bigger and maybe can work towards a really good change.
I have a question for you, and that is, I hear you and I agree. We have to come together. We keep talking about, real or perceived differences, false barriers, false divisions, but the fact of the matter is, I believe, that there's a very real division in this country along racial lines. And until, for us to come together for a shared and collective cause that will be effective, I think we have to come to terms with that division. And so my question for you is, do you think that it's possible for us in this country to reckon with race? Because I think first we have to do that, and then we can probably come together in a meaningful and powerful way. But as long as we have this scar tissue and we don't understand each other's histories or don't understand each other's perspectives and don't take the time to, I'm not sure any collective action will be enduring. So that's my question for you.
I have a response to it right off, and the answer is we already have.
Have what?
Dealt with the question first. Over and over again. When the Irish first arrived in droves after the famine, they were classified as not white, believe it or not. Each wave of immigrants that comes in gets this backlash of hatred and isolation and repulsion. Laws get made against them. Let's talk about the Chinese. We deal with this every time, and Ursula K. Le Guin suggested a wonderful solution to the race problem, which is to have aliens invade. If we've got somebody that we can identify as even more outside than the other person, we'll unite. so I think my point is that we have a long and a very painful history, just as the Irish Protestants and the Irish Catholics have to deal with their ongoing narratives of pain and wrongs done to them on both sides. The only way they can find peace is to begin to come to recognize the pain that the other side's been through and recognize the commonalities, and I think that that's the way we're going to get through the race thing. But yes, I think there is hope for that.
So I really agree with you, and I think, I think we have to grapple with the fact that we continually, I think, we often say we're a country of immigrants, but in fact, there's a large group of people that did not come to this country as immigrants. They came as slaves, and we don't want to grapple with that, right? We don't want to think about it, and I think it colors a lot. I think it colors how we view work, in a lot of ways. I think, again, I come. My politics is based in the union, right? And so that is a place where I've seen that people can come together, and in some ways they're forced to, it's an organization that's based on economics more than anything else. And so people have to unite and figure out how they work together. And there's been, and continues to be, really long struggles in the labor movement around race. And with the role that race plays in labor. So I think it is something that we need to really, it's there, right? It's there. And so how do we address that issue? Because I think our country has been sort of loath to really look at part of what we built our country on was other people who we didn't treat like people, right? And that's not our myth, right? That's not our myth.
No. We're all rugged individualists with our free choices, right?
Yeah, and so I think it's painful for people individually, but also institutionally.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I'm not to say, but it was only racism. I think there's also deep-seated sexism within us, and so that I think we have to be inspired by Dolores and know that there's going to be times again and again when the future is taken away from us, and we still have to keep fighting for it.
Yeah, I think as long as we'll end racism when we're all equal, when we're all trading our gifts instead of money. We're all performing for each other. We're serving each other, not for the dollar, but for the glory of the community, for the glory of the country. If we just dedicated ourselves to serving each other with whatever gift we have, we wouldn't have the racial problem that we have. But it is that divide because of the dollar and the fight and the immigrants that are gonna come over when we have people homeless and suffering and we have these concerns. We spend millions of dollars in foreign countries, in foreign wars, in this big machine that military machine that we have going, and we have people starving and homeless and they have to blame somebody. They're gonna blame somebody. It's always gonna happen until we can all work together as one for the better of the country. Instead of that almighty dollar, we're gonna have a racial problem, and I just don't see an end to it until something like that happens. And it's not because of an inferiority complex or even an ego complex. It all has to do with having somebody to blame for your position. I'm not where I should be because somebody else is taking that. They're giving that money to somebody else. I'm not able to earn that money because of somebody else. It's a blame game thing.
So there was somebody in history who once said that if we don't learn from history, we're destined to repeat it. We're repeating.
Yep.
So it's up to us to educate and to accurately educate so that it doesn't keep repeating.
Amen.
I just want to say, I think it's bigger than just racism. I think you're also looking at equality and respect of everyone. I mean, we all have our own stories. I'm very activist on the LGBT, and we all have different issues. It's the respect, but it's however you want to put it, management or upper, how they divide us and keep us fighting against the same thing. We're not going to solve racism without dealing with everyone's respect before we even deal with that. I think we're just going to spin around. The Women's March is a perfect example. Came all together for the Women's March, and we were told we weren't really genuine women. We shouldn't be in that march. Things like that. It still happens.
So I also think we have to act, right? I just remember a discussion that the union had about how do we get more people of color, more women into leadership. And this really great labor thinker, Bill Fletcher, said, well, the way our unions run, generally people put together a slate when they're going to run for office. And there's, all your candidates, every office is filled by a slate, and then your slate campaigns together. So, how about if we put people of color and women on our slates? And it was a real he offered a challenge, right, to white male labor leaders to say, here's something you can do, right? Like, almost like saying, enough talk.
Right.
Like, there's a system here, and we all know